New student Agnes never removed her colorful beanies in Miss Peterson's classroom, starting a fashion trend among her classmates. The teacher bent the no hats rule, charmed by how it helped the shy girl fit in. But when strange stains appeared and other kids began to whisper, what Miss Peterson discovered beneath the beanie left her reaching for the phone. The first day Agnes walked into Miss Peterson's third-grade classroom, she kept her eyes on the floor. The mid-semester transfer student seemed determined to fade into the background, her small frame practically disappearing into her oversized sweater. But there was one thing about Agnes that immediately caught everyone's attention. Perched atop her head was a vibrant teal beanie that stood out against the sea of ordinary school attire. Ms. Peterson welcomed the new student with a warm smile, inviting her to take an empty seat near the front. As Agnes shuffled to her desk, several children whispered about her colorful hat. In most schools, wearing hats indoors was against the rules, but something about Agnes's nervous demeanor made Ms. Peterson decide not to mention it, at least not on her first day. Every morning, Agnes arrived wearing a different beanie. The other students took notice. Emily, one of the class's fashion-forward girls, showed up wearing her brother's baseball cap. 2 days later, half the class arrived with some form of headwear. Before long, Hat Fridays had become an unofficial event in room 203. Ms. Peterson couldn't help but smile at how something so simple had helped Agnes integrate with her peers without saying much at all. During the morning announcements on the third Friday after Agnes's arrival, the principal reminded all teachers to enforce the school's no hats policy, citing concerns from other classrooms. Ms. Peterson reluctantly addressed her students, explaining they would need to remove their hats during class time. 26 children groaned in disappointment as they tucked away their headwear, but Agnes didn't move. Ms. Peterson approached her desk quietly, kneeling to meet the girl's eye level. She gently reminded Agnes about the school rule. The girl's fingers clutched the edges of her beanie as she pleaded to keep it on, insisting she felt more confident with it. Something in her wide eyes made Miss Peterson hesitate. After a moment's consideration, she nodded, telling Agnes she could keep the hat for today, but they would need to talk about it later. During the third week, Miss Peterson began noticing concerning behavior. Agnes would flinch whenever anyone came near her head. During quiet reading time, the teacher spotted Agnes pressing her palm against her temple, her face contorted with pain when she thought no one was watching. Around this time, Tyler Martin, the classroom troublemaker, began targeting Agnes openly, calling her Hat Girl during recess and saying that she might be completely bald like his grandpa. While several students still admired Agnes's colorful beanie collection, others began whispering that it was weird she never took them off. One Tuesday morning during circle time, Miss Peterson noticed several students subtly moving away from where Agnes sat. Later at recess, she overheard Emily telling another girl there was a strange smell coming from Agnes's direction. The teacher made a mental note to speak with Agnes's mom during the upcoming conference week. As the weeks progressed, Miss Peterson became increasingly worried. Dark stains had begun appearing on Agnes's beanies, particularly around the back and sides. More concerning still, Agnes had started missing school. When she did attend, her normally bright eyes appeared glazed and distant. During math assessments, she stared blankly at her paper instead of working through problems she'd previously solved with ease. Ms. Peterson called Agnes's home multiple times, but her messages were never returned. The class was halfway through an art project when everything came to a head. Students sat at tables working with watercolors to create autumn landscapes. Agnes, wearing a once white beanie now mottled with suspicious dark spots, concentrated on mixing the perfect shade of orange. Tyler, seated across from her, had been making faces at her for most of the class. Without warning, Tyler lunged across the table, his fingers grasping for Agnes's hat. She shrieked, jerking backwards so violently that her chair tipped over. In the chaos, her beanie slid partially off. Though Agnes quickly adjusted it, Ms. Peterson caught a glimpse of something that made her stomach drop. Angry, inflamed skin peeking out from beneath the fabric. After dismissing the class, Ms. Peterson asked Agnes to stay behind. The girl stood by her desk, eyes downcast, fingers nervously pulling at a loose thread on her beanie. The teacher pulled up a small chair beside her, speaking in gentle tones as she asked Agnes if everything was okay at home. The girl nodded silently, but tears began forming at the corners of her eyes. Carefully choosing her words, Miss Peterson asked about the hat, why she never removed it, even when clearly uncomfortable. Agnes's lip trembled as she explained that her head hurt all the time. When Miss Peterson gently asked if she could see why it hurt, Agnes initially refused, shaking her head vigorously. But after several minutes of patient reassurance, the young girl's resistance crumbled. With trembling hands, Agnes slowly reached up and pulled off her beanie. The sight that greeted Ms. Peterson was far worse than she had imagined. Agnes's scalp was covered with angry, infected sores of various sizes. Some had crusted over with yellowish scabs, while others were actively oozing. The infection had spread across her entire head, with the largest spots showing alarming signs of deep infection. The source of the smell that had prompted her classmates' whispers became immediately apparent. Fighting to keep her expression neutral despite her horror, Ms. Peterson asked how long the sores had been there. Through halting sobs, Agnes revealed the truth. She lived with her single mother, who worked night shifts as a janitor at a local convenience store. When the infection first appeared months ago, her mother had taken her to the hospital, but the prescribed medications cost more than they could afford with their rent due. Desperate to help her daughter, Agnes's mother had turned to herbal remedies from a local market, each supposedly guaranteed to cure the problem. Agnes had been instructed to hide the condition until it healed, wearing her collection of beanies while they tried one remedy after another. But nothing worked, and the infection had steadily worsened. Ms. Peterson immediately realized this was not just a dress code issue or a case of parental neglect. It was a medical emergency. She calmly told Agnes she needed to call someone who could help, while privately horrified at how long the child had been suffering. Within minutes, she had contacted 911, explaining the situation to the dispatcher while comforting the now openly crying child. The paramedics arrived quickly, treating Agnes with gentle efficiency. They confirmed Ms. Peterson's fears. The girl was suffering from a severe scalp infection that required immediate hospital treatment to prevent complications. Child Protective Services launched an investigation that same day, ultimately determining that Agnes's home environment was unsafe. Her mother had been well-intentioned but dangerously misguided, attempting to treat a serious medical condition with unproven remedies while her daughter suffered. Agnes was temporarily placed with a foster family while her mother received parenting support and assistance securing better healthcare coverage. 2 weeks later, Ms. Peterson visited Agnes in the hospital, bringing a soft, colorful scarf for when her treatment allowed. The doctors had shaved her head to properly treat the infection, but new hair was already beginning to grow in healthy patches. For the first time since joining the class, Agnes smiled without reservation. When Agnes finally returned to the classroom a month later, she wore no hat at all. Her healing scalp was visible to everyone, but so was her smile. This became a powerful reminder to Ms. Peterson that she had become a teacher in the first place, not just to educate, but to truly see the children in her care. What would you do if you suspected a child in your life was hiding something serious behind a seemingly innocent habit?